Welcome to Nintendo Dads, episode 399, recorded. Well, it doesn't really matter when it's recorded. It just matters when it finds its way into your ear holes. On tonight's episode with special guests, Joshua, the Mario and Rabbids guru Taylor, we talk, well, all things Mario and Rabbids, because the game just came out and Josh is here. Jesse, cue the music.
And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Nintendo Dads episode 399, as Justin just said. Thanks for stopping by, and welcome to the Nintendo Dads, as I said. Jesse, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Yeah, I'll do a more in-depth story when we record the next episode. So I'll keep this one short. But it's been a week, and I'm glad I have tomorrow off, and looking forward to next week.
Nice. Very cool. How about you, Justin? How are you doing?
Guys, I'm excited. I'm really excited. So right now when we're recording this, it's like 1 week until we're literally together in the same space, touching each other, having beers, having drinks. We'll have gone to the Nintendo store. Marty will have seen the bright lights of New York and not known what to do. We'll have eaten some great pizza. I'm so excited. But when you're recording this, or when you're listening to this, probably will be like, it's just 3 days away. So time is a flat circle. It's really confusing, but I'm excited to be here. And man, am I excited to talk Mario and Rabbids with Josh, because spoiler alert, I've been playing a lot of it, and I don't mean to be giving it away. I absolutely love it. But Tim, how are you?
I am doing great. As usual, I'm happy to talk video games with you guys and take my mind off craziness that is called life. But speaking of Marty, first, unfortunately, he can't be here because he's still sore about losing the Super Mario versus Metroid Prime debate that we had back with Nintendo Nostalgia in 2020. Do you remember that, Josh? Speaking of Josh, welcome, Josh. How are you doing?
I was on the side of Metroid Prime.
Yes.
Just fine today. Yeah, I've been kind of busy myself. We actually just started back up Nintendo Nostalgia yesterday. Well, yeah, yesterday. We recorded an episode. It was the first one in months, probably like 8 months.
Yes.
That's exciting.
Yeah, taking quite a break on that. So, yeah, and it's actually, this is late for me, so I'm feeling pretty good for it being the time it is. I took a good nap before getting started. So
you know, a good nap is sometimes all you need. Do you know what I mean? But here's the thing about a good nap. A good nap can go one of two ways. Do you know what I mean? A good nap, you can wake up, refresh, boom, I'm ready to tackle the world. Let's go. If you let that good nap slip for an extra 5 or 10 minutes, you could be down for the count. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
now you're waking up crankier. You're waking up even angrier.
That's normally the latter for me.
Definitely need to find that sweet spot when it comes to naps.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, let's jump onto the news, shall we?
Sure, do it.
The news is brought to our wonderful people at patreon.com/Nintendo Dads. Huge thanks to our newest Patreons out there, if we have any. we've gotten everybody who's joining us or listening to us, but thanks to our Patreons who are out there who give us a little bit of their money to help us do our thing, especially since we're now able to go to New York and hang out together in a week from today, which Justin is so excited about. Touching each other about
very much.
That was my wife, by the way, if you heard.
What? I didn't hear that in the background. What? I stand by my claim.
New York stays New York.
I'm not allowed to go to New York now. All right.
That's what I said.
Anyways, let's talk headlines. Basically, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope does well in the eShop at number 1, and it does well in the UK charts. It hit number 1, like I said, in the eShop, and number 3 overall in the first week in the UK. So after number 1, FIFA 23, number 2, Gotham Knights, we get number 3, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. So what do you guys think that does for Nintendo in this game? Is it just as hot as it was when the first game came out? What do you guys think?
I think from a rankings perspective, I think Mario and Rabbids at this point, when you pull your go in the way back machine here, folks. The original Mario and Rabbids came out in August of 2017. The Nintendo Switch had just came on the market. We had seen this game announced at E3, and people were like, this sounds like the worst idea. Why does Mario have a gun? Those minions are annoying, and I don't like Ubisoft. Right. And what we heard from like the audience and people who reviewed it were like, oh no, it's actually really good. And you should probably play it. And Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle was kind of like this game that like nobody ever, like, if you played it, you got it. You were like, totally, yes, awesome. But nobody would, like, a lot of people didn't give it the time of day that it really deserves. And I think it's just such an amazing game. So when it came in, when we're looking at these positionings here, right, coming in number 3, I don't think that's shocking. And at this point is a known quantity, right? It's a sequel to a really game that did incredibly well. By the way, people want Mario games, like, so that's a killer combination right there, right? And so I think I'm not shocked it landed where it is, and the review scores did not help as well. I think on the Metacritic overall, it's like between 80 and I think it's 85 and 90 on the Metacritic. So overall, like, and IGN and all these other sites gave it a really good score. I'm not shocked by this at all.
Josh, what do you think?
Yeah, of course. I'll try not to have too much of a biased answer. I legitimately think it's a great game. I think Sparks of Hope improved on Kingdom Battle in its own ways. It's sort of an evolution. So it's different in its own ways as well. It's a great sequel, but it's also not like going from Super Mario Brothers to what we call Lost Levels. It's a little bit. It feels like a slightly different game, just the way it's set up. It's one of those things you sort of have to try, though. You almost don't even have to start with Kingdom Battle if you haven't played it before.
Okay. Yep. And speaking of this, the first game, it reached 10 million unique players since it launched in August of 2017. This is something that Ubisoft reported back in August. You probably know, Josh, but it's which is up from 7.5 million that was reported back in June. So do you think it's going to beat those numbers or exceed it in like tenfold, or maybe not that much, but twofold? What do you guys think?
I personally think it can. Right now, when the first one came out, the Switch was 6 months old, maybe something like that, roughly.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, there's been several more million Switches like sold. So I would assume, going off of that alone, and the fact that it's already hit like number 1 in the U.S. and the Europe eShops, I'm betting that it will eventually surpass it. Sorry, I cannot speak.
It's okay. Jesse, your thoughts on this?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the numbers look like when Nintendo publishes units sold. We're not going to hear about this with the upcoming quarter. I think that might actually be next week. So we won't actually hear numbers until like February.
Would it be in Nintendo's numbers? I thought because it was Ubisoft that it would.
They'll still share third parties games if they. It depends. It depends on the game. They don't. I guess they don't always. But if it's a million seller, even with a third party, they sometimes will say. So I hope they say.
Right.
I wouldn't be shocked if they say something about it, right? Because it is their IP. And I think they do want to, anytime they can promote and celebrate their IP that's doing successful, they're going to do it.
So right? It may not be on the chart that they do, but it would be like
it may be a footnote somewhere, right? Okay. Or some other like Nintendo cross media, right? And so you might see like, I don't know, an update on the Universal Studios, people who've gone through and money made there, and then you may see something on the movie, and then you may see something on this collaboration, right? So you may see it there.
Gotcha. Any other thoughts on that hot topic there, and how well it's been doing since this Mario and Rabbids is our topic this evening?
I'm kind of surprised to see Persona not higher than that.
Well, what I actually just looking at this list too, the UK charts. Last week, apparently Mario Kart 8 Deluxe was number 2 and dropped down to number 4. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe.
Yeah.
Still on the list, number 4, because of Mario and Rabbids and those other 2 games that came out. That's crazy. So, and then Splatoon 3 is in there. It dropped from 4 to 7. And then Nintendo Switch Sports dropped from 5 to 9. And then Animal Crossing New Horizons still there, holding at 10.
So. And for those who can't see the list, this isn't just of Nintendo games. This is of all games in
Right.
UK. So
Yes.
like this, like FIFA and Gotham Knights are 1 and 2.
Yep. Exactly. So yeah, and then sprinkled in are all these other games. So like we mentioned, Persona 5, that's number 6 on this list. And the Plague Tale is on here too for number 5. So lots of good stuff. Look up the UK charts, check it out, and let us know your thoughts on where this is and what you think Mario Rabbids Kingdom Battle is going to fall. And we're not done talking about that. We're going to go right into let's discuss and talk about this game with Joshua. Josh, as was mentioned at the beginning of the show, you are the Mario and Rabbids guru, right? So, because the reason why we call that is because you're the admin and community leader for the Mario and Rabbids Discord. And also you do the community manager stuff for the Nintendo Nostalgia. So give us a little bit of a background there and how you ended up in that role, if you don't mind.
Yeah, it's sort of a long story. I guess the first time we really had contact with Ubisoft was back in December of 2017, I think, when they first came out with the versus mode for Kingdom Battle. And they had a contest where I can't remember the exact rules, but basically you had to take a picture of who you enjoy playing versus mode with or something along those lines. And I took a sort of a funny picture, wish I had it with me, of my wife and I, because we played versus on that game a lot. Like even in recent times, we'll go back to it. We played countless matches on there. And she's not the biggest gamer, but like there's certain things like that, Splatoon, that just sort of click. But yeah, I took a funny picture of us, sent it in to them, and we were one of the winners, and they sent me a few things. And then I just sort of continued to keep up with them through Twitter and things like that. Nothing like super extravagant. They were continuing to do like another contest for the competition for people to go to like the studios and then eventually go to Gamescom for the finale. And I never did get to any of the studios then. So I was kind of disappointed about that. But then they messaged me one day and just pretty much tells me, hey, quit trying to sign up for the contest. We're sending you to Gamescom anyway. I was like, you're going to go as a community leader. So they sent me as that. And I got to compete anyway. And I made it to like the semifinals. But yeah, that's kind of where that started. And since that trip that was 2019. I'm getting my years wrong. Well, yeah. Anyway, in 2019, it came to that, and I've just sort of kept up with that group since then. We've kind of got a fairly tight knit group of, I want to say like 10. It's a rough number, but of just community people from all over different parts of the world. That a lot of them I met there, or I met on my other trip I'll mention. And things like that. It's really just a cool little community to be a part of, and the people that are officially in Ubisoft that kind of talk to us on the regular, on and off.
That's awesome.
So let me ask you this. So I mean, it sounds like it really germinated with kind of this like Twitter contest, and you playing Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. When you picked, like, were you, when Mario and Rabbids, let's again, way back machine, let's pull it back to 2017. Kingdom Battle's announced. You see the reaction. Are you instantly interested in the game, or are you like, oh, kind of like the rest of us? Oh, that's an interesting idea. And then like, what was your experience with that? Like, did you just kind of fall in love with the game, or was it just kind of like this happenstance of like, oh, I'll also enter a contest. I kind of like the game. And now like for the last 5 years, it sounds like it's been your life. Like, how did this come to fruition?
It's kind of weird. Like when it first got announced, and unfortunately there was all those leaks and everything like that. Even before that, I really wasn't sure. Like I've loved Mario since like day one. I'm 33. My first game that I remember playing was Super Mario World, and if Mario's name is on it, I'm still like a sucker for whatever it may be, even if it's just kind of something not all that great. I still kind of want it. And I played a little bit of the Rabbids games before that. It wasn't something I'd like played. I didn't play every one of them or anything like that. There was fun little minigame collections on the Wii and things. So I really didn't know what to think at the time. And I'm not the biggest like RPG or strategy person necessarily all the time. Certain ones click with me. They really do, but it's just not something I chase after. But it's like once I saw it like on stage and saw Davide's reaction to the whole thing, and I saw Grant Kirkhope was part of it, who I've just always been a fan of since the Banjo-Kazooie days. Things like that just kind of started adding up, and I eventually just decided to give it a chance, even with it being a little outside of the norm, or even outside of the normal genre, so to speak, for me.
And then when you finally gave it a chance, was it like an instant, like, oh, I fell in love with it, or was it kind of like one of the games I played in the pile of games and I'm off to something else? Like, what was that like for you?
It clicked pretty quick with me. I do remember it took me a little bit to, I can't remember what came out in between then and there. It did take me a little bit to get through it. I feel like it took me a couple months, which is kind of funny for me to think back to with all I've been involved with now. But
Sure.
It was just sort of that type of game for me. It takes me a little while, or at least at the time, to dig into properly. But yeah, I mean, from what I remember, it clicked pretty quick with me. I mean, I would still say, even after a ton of time into that one and a good bit of time into Sparks of Hope, I still don't think I'm like the most talented, player at the game necessarily. I might have a lot of passion and everything else around it. So, I still struggle at times with it, and I did eventually fall in love with it, so to speak.
Yeah. What is it about the game specifically, or maybe it's not the game, right? Because I think we are dealing with two different games here, right? Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hope. But
Yeah.
what is it about I'm going to use the word, I guess, the franchise here that draws you to it so much?
I first and foremost, to be honest, it sounds sort of a vain thing to draw you in, but was Mario. I mean, so there was that. I've never had, like, I know some people kind of get like annoyed with, like, Rabbids and even to throw the minions and things like that in there. That stuff just doesn't really bother me. I don't know. I can usually handle it okay. But like really getting into, the more I played that game, really the first cutscene or two, I feel like the characters in it, like the characterization, I don't know what the word would properly be. I just like how they pulled it off. It's silly. It's not like super annoying or anything to me. It's sort of like watching a cartoon. A lot of that sort of thing just made me want to keep going. Like it made me smile, kind of like how I felt. Granted, Mario Odyssey is like in my favorite genre of games, but
Sure.
How that game kind of makes you feel, like when I remember going to the part where Pauline is singing and Mario's dancing and all that. It's no big major gameplay moment. It just kind of makes me smile,
Yeah.
So
That's
stuff
great.
like that kind of kept me going.
Yeah, very cool. I was just curious because it's such a, it's not a niche title, but it's if someone's like, I love Call of Duty, it's like, well, that annualizes, so you're there every single year, but you're like you've had two games in 5 years, right? So there's a lot of time to invest in these two games and to build really kind of this experience and this brand and this community around it. It's really interesting to kind of understand that a little bit. Just, I was curious about how it hit with you. So I know, Tim, you've got a list of questions here as well, but thanks for that, Josh.
No, it's okay. I was actually going to ask you, it's for someone like me who's interested in it but hasn't played it. What's your elevator pitch to people like me who may be interested, or maybe we're on the fence like you were, because of the genre or whatever the case may be, just hasn't played it yet. What's your elevator pitch for them?
Gosh, I've sort of thought about this before, and I think it very much just depends on who I'd be talking to. For someone like myself, I mean, of course, as a longtime Nintendo fan, it would be the Mario aspect of it. That's sort of the gateway in. If you're any sort of strategy fan, or if you're not really, it sort of has that thing where if you're new to that genre, I feel like it's fairly easy to figure out. But then there is plenty of challenges, trust me, later on in the game that you need to know what you're doing. You straight up need to know, you need to understand about everything you can about it to get through it. So it's just one of those things I feel like you have to give a shot. With Kingdom Battle in particular, I know nowadays too, one little extra thing to throw in there is you can usually find it on a pretty good sale. A lot of times you can find it really cheap on the eShop. I think physically sometimes it's usually I think it's probably like a $19.99 game, I believe at this point, most of the time. So that alone, I think, is a sort of a, hey, look, it doesn't cost you that much. It's got a decent bit of content to it, yeah, I mean, that's about it. It's really hard to compare to anything else. That's one thing I would do with something like a like a Mario Odyssey or something. I would, hey, you like Mario 64? You're gonna love this kind of deal. But this one's really hard to call that out. Unless you played like XCOM or something, which I didn't play until after Kingdom Battle.
Okay.
So
I think the thing that interests me the most about this game, right, about just the franchise in general, is you think of how stringent, I'm going to say, Nintendo is with their IP, right? They understand the value of their IP. They understand the importance of their characters, right? And they don't devalue that, right? Like you can't find Mario Odyssey on sale for you, maybe for $5 off, but it ain't going to be a deep cut, right? And they have like very strict guidelines and regiments and requirements for Ubisoft and how do you say, Davitali to be able to say, here's an idea that is kind of against the nomenclature of Nintendo, right? Mario's got a gun, and we're going to put them together with the Rabbids in the Mario universe, right? This kind of weird collaboration. And by the way, knowing how Nintendo is, there has to be certain constraints in that, right? Nintendo is very specific. And to then create this thing that you're like, oh, this is really good. Do you know what I mean? Like it's almost, it kind of reminds me of like, if you follow the Marvel Studios, this is the multiverse, right? And in this version of the multiverse, Mario has a gun and Mario can shoot things, right? And you're like, oh, right. So, but it still plays in that idea. I think it's fascinating to see that collaboration. And then to be like, this is a developer who wasn't Nintendo, right? I mean, they took the IP and did an amazing job with it, right? Yeah. And I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, for sure. It's still one of those things. I mean, it's 5 years after Kingdom Battle's been out, and it's still just odd to think about the fact that they even got away with it, to be honest to me, because I know how Nintendo can be with that sort of thing. And I've heard Davide tell some stories about that. And I think, of course, he was just as nervous about it as well. So, yeah, it's something else about that is just I love to see how much of I feel like it's sort of a success story where they got to work on Mario of all things, and it worked. Nintendo let it happen, and it worked. So
yeah.
So you got to meet him, and especially at the workshop, sounds like in Paris, right? So
Davide specifically.
Yes.
Yeah. Not Mario. He wasn't.
Not there, Mario. Sorry.
Imagine, right? Or
yes.
Miyamoto.
So. What was that? What was that like meeting him in the workshop itself? What kind of details can you share about what happened there when you went to the workshop in Paris?
So with meeting him specifically, like as soon as we went into basically the room where we were going to be doing our work, playing an early version of the game, he was in there already with a couple other people, and a couple of us brought a little something, just saying, hey, it's great to meet you and that sort of thing. I brought him something from West Virginia and all this. Somebody had brought him some snacks, and he was just super, super nice to everybody. Like he was really, I don't feel like he was acting like he was someone like high up and he knew it. You know what I mean? Like he was just sort of there. He was very appreciative of everything, but he was a person. He was a human. You know what I mean? He didn't feel like I don't even mean this. Maybe I shouldn't make that comparison. If just a lot of times if someone's in that position, I feel like they're not that easy to just walk up to and speak to. He's not intimidating to speak with. And outside of that, like he was in the room with us pretty much the whole time we were doing our stuff. And if we needed something, if he was nearby, I'd just be like, hey, hey, check this out or whatever. Or we went to dinner with him and had lunch with him and stuff a couple times. I sat next to him and he was just super chill, easy to talk to, be it about games. We mentioned Stranger Things, just whatever came up. He was just sort of like one of the group almost, so to speak.
Very cool. And that's I'm having a hard time saying his name. That's why I said just him. But is it Saliani? Yeah.
So I'm from West Virginia, so I know I'm not going to say it right. And I've met the man and everything else, but it's the way I pronounce it is Davide Soliani.
Okay. Soliani. Okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. Gotcha. All right. Cool. And was anyone else got to go with you to that trip, or is it just you?
No, it was the same with Germany. Unfortunately, it was just me. My wife and daughter had to stay back. I really wish they could have went, but I also understand they couldn't pay for everybody's family to fly over
Right.
and stay and all this other stuff. So it was just me.
We kind of
my wife
understand that. We kind of understand that. Because of going to
my
New
wife
York, we
is-
can't take our family with us either.
Yeah, my wife's been great about it all. She's let me go. I really wish I could take her the next time something like this works out or whatever. Maybe in the future we'll see where things go. But
Right.
yeah, unfortunately it was just me for those. But I was able to meet a lot of people I didn't know until the Gamescom trip, and I still keep up with a lot of them. I met them again in Paris, but regardless, outside of that, we were still chit-chatting every once in a while, a couple times a week. We might jump into Discord or something like that. So
Very cool.
So the build that
Been great.
you saw in July, like where so was this your first? This was your first hands-on with it. I assume there'd
Yeah.
been. I think by July there'd been some trailer leaks, right? It had been leaked for E3, so you knew it was coming. I guess I'd
Yeah.
say this even before E3. Did you know it was coming? Like, were you given a heads up on it, or was E3, or when it was officially announced, was it a surprise to you? And then I guess my question follow up to that is in July. First time playing it, they're doing dedicated focus groups, right? They're looking for stuff there. What are you observing? What are your thoughts on it? How is it treating you?
So I went in July of this year, and I believe it was announced in E3 2021. I think, if I
Last
remember
year.
correctly, at least
Last year,
yeah.
June.
But yeah, they invited me, I believe May of this year. I think it was May. So I had a little bit of a time to prep and things like that. Thankfully, this time I already had my passport and things like that. Because last time it was very, very, very close. Apparently, everywhere else, everybody kind of already has passports, but I'm one of the few people from the U.S. Like I think the only one on that trip. So they're like, "Oh wait, you don't have a passport?" And I had to rush all that along.
Right.
But yeah, the build I played in July was a little bit earlier, but I mean, I can see improvements from then. But other than that, like I can't go into detail on some of it.
Sure. Yep, that's fine.
But yeah, it's definitely improved just even since then.
So what kind of sweet swag did you get from going there to the Paris thing?
I'm trying to think of what I grabbed while I was there. There was a couple little things, a little notebook we got to keep. I just thought it was neat because it had their logo and all this on it.
Right.
I bought some stuff while I was there, like a little. I don't have it with me. There was a little rabbit in the airport for my daughter. There's a little unicorn and a bunch of stuff like that. But
Nice.
then let's see. Oh man, I don't have anything next to me. Davide actually, one of his first games he worked on was Rayman on the Game Boy Color and a Jungle Book game on the Game Boy Color. And I had my Game Boy, my original Game Boy Color from when I was a kid with me with a Game Boy camera. And I was able to like take a picture of the Eiffel Tower with it. And there was a picture of me and him on there. And he
Nice.
signed my Game Boy Color from my childhood. I thought was really awesome. He was like, "Oh wait, I really want to sign this." Because I mentioned it. I was like, "Oh, you should sign this too." Because he signed my copy of Kingdom Battle. He was like, "Somebody go find a marker." And they went downstairs in the studio and all this and found like a special marker and we let it dry out and everything.
Nice.
So that was really cool. But then what was it? A couple days ago, they had informed us all this was coming before they sent me. They sent me this box right here. I don't know if it's gonna fit.
That's
And
great. Yeah.
Wow. Nice.
Nice.
And it has a bunch of stuff in it, from the little figures.
Those
which also
figures
came
are
with little-
great.
Yeah, if you can find these anywhere, they also come with little cards in it that give like little skins in the game. It's not the ones they have are like the regular weapons,
Yeah.
but it does give little special skins to those two characters. So those are cool. And then what else came in here? There's an art book. I will not show much of it because there are spoilers in it.
Oh.
But just to give you a peek at like the first, here we go. This isn't bad. There's a lot of good
Nice.
stuff in there.
I love art books.
Beacon
Those are fun to
Beach.
look at, especially when you're into the game.
I
For
like
sure.
it when companies like they do a good promo box for a game coming out. This looks like it's a good promo box.
They really did. And there's a little, this one's like a
keychain?
smartphone ring holder thing.
Oh, like
I don't know.
those,
Oh yeah.
like
I think they gave one of those away if you pre-ordered. I think they gave that one away to one of those places if you
Yeah, there's
pre-ordered
a-
it.
games.
There's a
Yeah.
keychain, I think, at Best Buy. I think it was.
Okay, maybe that's what
And
it
there's
was.
one on my Nintendo I'm getting as well. There's one in Europe's getting like a tote bag and all this stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
having that sent by a friend. But I've got all kinds of stuff. Here's one of my favorite pieces.
Oh, nice. Good stuffy. Who
One
doesn't
of the
love
Sparks.
a good stuffy? Yeah,
Starburst.
that's
He's
awesome.
squishy.
Yeah, I think one of the questions we have is where can we get that plush Spark?
There's the game.
Yeah, I got the,
Is it a
it's a little
steelbook? Ooh,
Ooh,
which I'd already pre-ordered at GameStop too, so I've got 2 copies of this.
nice.
great.
But yeah. So far everything that is in here. Let's see.
Can you get
Plushie-
that? Can you get that plushie somewhere else? I imagine
Unfortunately,
they sell it somewhere.
unfortunately, right now I know of no plans to sell it anywhere.
Oh,
A lot of the
wow.
developers got it. A lot of the team and some of the community leaders and things like that got one. The figures are supposed to be up in the normal various places eventually.
Yeah, if anyone's listening to this, someone find me. If someone can find me
Yeah.
those figures, specifically the Mario one, please let me know. DM me because I would.
Yeah.
I have one from last game that I have on my shelf, and I really want the boxer. So
I'm
Nice.
hoping those will turn up a little, easier to find. I feel like the Kingdom Battle ones were a little complicated on and off, and then they're like everywhere, and so
yeah,
you just got to hit the right time.
Yeah.
But the rest of the stuff, really, like the art book, I don't think they're going to sell it anywhere. I will say we are doing a giveaway for one in the U.S. I've got 2 actually. I've got one to give away here in the U.S. on our Discord, and there's one going out over in Europe. So
that's great.
Awesome.
there's a chance to win one soon.
There you go.
That's
But-
how you can get that plush.
Yeah,
You gotta win.
Yeah.
You gotta win it. Nice.
And I think the keychain is still on my Nintendo, as far as I know.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Let's talk Sparks of Hope, right? Let's start now. Obviously, we want to keep spoiler free for those who have not played or have not got far enough onto it. What are your
For
thoughts on Sparks of Hope? How are you feeling about it? How are you feeling in regards to it changing from the first game? And maybe for those who didn't play the first game, maybe give a little bit of a how is it different, right? Why is Sparks of Hope being so widely celebrated?
I think with Sparks of Hope, or I'm sorry, with Kingdom Battle, actually, it was a very new thing, a new concept, a new idea, especially for people who just sort of came from being Mario fans. It's not something we'd really seen before. So they played it a little bit safe. I think with like the grid system just made a whole lot of sense. Even the way the levels were laid out, it was sort of a 1-1, 1-2 sort of setup. And some of the puzzles were a little blockier, things like that. But with Sparks of Hope, I think they got a little more confident and was able to take a little more chances. So like with the battle system, obviously it's a little more, if you've seen it, you already know, but it's a little more open. You can walk around freely within a little radius, depending on what character you're using. So that's already a little different from the grid system, which I think made plenty of sense on its own. I feel like that was really taking sort of a chance to potentially mess up something that worked perfectly great before. But fortunately, I think it worked out. I think it opens up a lot, really more possibilities on movement and things like that. But one of my favorite improvements to it from Kingdom Battle is the worlds themselves, is just the exploration side of it. So like I mentioned before, with Kingdom Battle, it was a little more blocky. Some of the puzzles were like different colored blocks, and the lands were kind of like squares. It was fine for what it was, but now like it just feels almost like a 3D platformer type of world without being able to jump around and things like that. But with the way you can move the camera, it's not that constant like sort of top down ish sort of thing. It just feels like you've got a lot of freedom now, and they were able to really open things up and try a couple little things here and there. And I think for the most part, a lot of the new stuff works. So I'm glad so far the chances they take seem to mostly pay off.
That's great. Tim?
Well, we actually, around the game, we have a question from another question that's from our community, and it's specifically in this realm. What's been your favorite Spark to use? If you were a Spark, what powers would you have?
For me, I will say I chose my favorite Spark back in Paris, and I'm played through most of the game now. I had it a little early, and I would say it's still Toxic Quake, the big green Nickelodeon slime looking thing.
Okay.
So he sends out like a shockwave of ooze, and that basically like poisons some of the enemies and things like that. But it's like instant, damage as it's going out as well. So I think he's really handy. Like patch him up with Rabbid Mario, and call a bunch of enemies in, and then just blow them all up with that. Now,
Nice.
if I would say that's my favorite one to use. Um, the second part to that question, that's a good one. I would like to think I wouldn't be that, essentially just like farting and poisoning everyone within a mile radius. I mean,
Right.
that could be me. On a bad day, that very much could be me.
Yes.
I
Depending on what you eat, right?
Yeah, I had a deluxe Taco Bell whatever meal about
Right.
4 hours ago. So,
That'll do it.
Yes.
maybe I am toxic quake.
Maybe. That'll do it. You just have to. That's your power up. Got to eat Taco Bell. Toxic Quake. Nice. Jesse, did you have anything you wanted to ask?
No, I didn't have anything else.
I know we've
any
got all the
questions I
here.
had, anything that I had, I think is someone else already put
All right.
on the sheet, so I don't have any other new questions.
What do you think, Josh, as your, one of the things that I've enjoyed the most about Kingdom Battle, and I think what I'm seeing from Sparks of Hope also, Season Pass expansion. I think Kingdom Battle did a fantastic job with their expansion. Of course, big shout out to Donkey Kong because I'm a big Donkey Kong fan, right? From Kingdom Battle. What do and maybe right? You can't say anything, right? A little tap on the nose is just fine. If you say like, I can't talk about it, I'm signed NDA, right? What are you hoping to see in the expansion or season pass as they move forward?
Well, I'll say first with Kingdom Battle, I'm also a huge Donkey Kong fan from the Country days and all of those. Donkey Kong Country 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I love how much especially where Grant did the overworld. Well, he did a lot of the music in that game, and it had that Donkey Kong 64 motif to it. That made me really happy. So I'd personally, outside of what I know or highly suspect and things like that, I'd love to see maybe a couple things return from Kingdom Battle that are missing so far, like Yoshi, because I've always just been a Yoshi fan. There's not really necessarily a big reason, just since Super Mario Kart days, just always like to pick Yoshi. So I would like to see him return in some form, and Rabbid Yoshi along with it. So I want to see things like that. Of course, Donkey Kong and Rabbid Cranky, I thought was great. I think they could definitely just basically reuse not complete assets, but basically what they had going there and upgrade it a little bit. Now, of course, with Rayman, we already know coming in Pack 3. I feel like they have set the expectations quite high for the first two packs. So, I'm watching how I word things here.
Sure.
So I'm just expecting. Go ahead.
I was going to say hopefully it's not a Breath of the Wild situation where your first DLC pack was a Switch shirt.
Yeah. Though that on that one, it was lame, but it was so lame it was almost cool. It was funny.
Yeah.
I don't know. I ran around with it just to be goofy for a while.
Even if you had the game on a Wii U.
It was almost like it was fourth wall breaking in a way, because you're wearing a Switch shirt in Zelda in Hyrule. So this doesn't make any sense.
It was a little weird. Hopefully it's something a little different than that. I mean, it would be a little fun if they pulled hey, the first one is all the skins are Ubisoft skins for your weapons. You just get the Ubisoft logo and everything. Yeah. I mean, you never know.
Right.
But no, I'm sort of. I know this sounds like a lot. That the Kingdom Battle had the one big expansion with Donkey Kong. It was basically like a fifth world. I'm almost expecting the same thing out of this, but 3 times over. To be honest, from what I'm picking up from what they've officially announced, it almost feels that way. But I could be completely off on that part of it. I will say, outside of the paid part of it, I personally very much hope that multiplayer returns in some way. mostly because me and my wife love playing versus mode more than anything. Co-op's pretty good too.
It
on
did
Kingdom
feel
Battle,
a bit
but
weird that wasn't there, right? Because was it there in the original release, or was that a patch in later multiplayer?
it came, I think, about 3 or 4 months later. But it was a free update, and and it wasn't like super expansive. Like there's 4 maps, and there's pretty set ways to have your weapon loadout and things like that. But I think it mostly worked, and there were still enough ways you can sort of combine teams and loadouts and things like that. I think it works perfectly well for the right people. It works for us. So I would like to see that come back again. Talking some with them and just sort of thinking about it myself, I guess. I can see where it's a little more difficult just with the way some things are set up with this game, from what I understand. So it's a little more complicated than just sort of like copying and pasting it with the new physics, so to speak. And also with Kingdom Battle, I know it was offline only, which for the most part, again, I was fine with. But a lot of people don't have somebody to play with, and I would have loved to play with my friends I met over in Germany and things like that. So I think they're also at a place where if they add it, they feel like they absolutely have to add online, or or everybody's going to throw a fit.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it's like this is the
And
second
the online
game,
has
so
to be competent.
yes.
yeah. Thankfully, this isn't like a game where it's like Smash Brothers, where like if you hit the A button and there is like a second lag, it absolutely is game breaking.
Yeah,
This is a little more forgiving, but
turn-based games are a little bit nicer with that.
right.
Did you have an overall favorite character you like using?
Yeah, so especially in Kingdom Battle, and it's mostly carried over to this. However, I do see myself switching out a lot more in Sparks of Hope. I don't know if I've just sort of gotten a little more well-rounded myself, or what it is, but Rabbid Mario is definitely the one I use the most. And versus, I remember my team at the competition, we had to pick our team before and our loadouts and things like that. It was Rabbid Mario, Rabbid Peach, because I pretty much always had her for somebody to heal, and Yoshi because he was Yoshi. So yeah.
There's no tactic. It just had to be Yoshi.
Yeah, I tend to take sort of a glass cannon approach, I guess is what you would call it. Get Rabbid Mario in there, pull everybody in as close as you can, and just beat the snot out of them and hope you kill a couple before they can attack you back.
And they've changed them this time to being much a brawler, more close ranged attack from what I'm seeing with them as well. Rabbid Mario.
Yeah, they took that close range from that game and made it even more close, I guess. He's all fist.
Yeah. You were talking about a couple moments ago the verses, right? And so Ubisoft did send you over to Gamescom in 2019. Tell us about that experience. What were you like? What was it you did there exactly? In the you said it was like the versus tournament, stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I technically went. Me and one other guy named Sam went as community leaders, so to speak, but they let us participate in the competition as well. We sort of got the cheap way, and we just got straight to the finals. But yeah, I went up. I only really played 2 rounds on the stage there, but me and him played, and I beat him the first round. The second match, I blew it. Like I shot my strongest dude out there through a pipe, and just like I took a chance and it didn't work out. And I lost Rabbid Mario in like 2 turns, and it was just all downhill from there. But no, basically I got to go. I'm trying to remember how many days that was. We were there several days during Gamescom. Like I think the first day we were there was just like journalists, developers and that sort of thing. So it was pretty easy going. We just got to go run around and do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then like the public, we got to go in early the other days, but the public came in and it goes absolutely bananas. But it was sort of unlike anything else I'd ever been at, minus the fact that I'd never been out of the country until then as well. So I'd always wanted to go to like E3 growing up, seeing it in Nintendo Power, and then seeing it in things like, I don't know, like IGN or things like that would have showed it way back then. I didn't really have I can't think of the name of it. It just died again, unfortunately. The one game channel that was on.
G4.
Yeah, G4. I had a friend that had it. Sometimes I'd catch things on there. It was just something I always wanted to go see, and it really felt a lot like that experience. I've kind of always wanted, just to be in this big crazy place with a bunch of different games and different fans and things like that. I remember when I got there, they took us over to the Ubisoft stage. I didn't play until day 2, I think. So we were just kind of off doing our own thing. Some of us were getting in groups and would go hang around. One of us went over to Stadia, had a big thing there, and they let us go. They had a big slide. I'm sorry, I'm getting way off base here.
No, it's okay.
But
Mr.
we were
Stadia,
like,
he's fine with it.
yeah, we were like, we don't really. I think they thought we worked with Ubisoft, and they let us like go past the line just to ride the slide. Like we just went to go down this big slide they had set up. So, so we went around and did goofy stuff. But I remember the first thing I did, I broke off on my own for a second and was like, I will be right back. And I crossed there's like a big hallway. There's big different rooms at Gamescom. And I went and found Nintendo's booth like first thing. And I remember seeing it crossing that corner and I seriously like teared up like, as soon as I saw that. And it was great. It was great. I went back with some of the friends there and stuff, and that's when they had Luigi's Mansion 3 set up there. That was the first time I got to play it.
Nice.
They had Luigi walking around and things like that, taking pictures. It was just this big like gaming event sort of thing that I never got to experience before. Link's Awakening was there. I think Pokemon Sword and Shield maybe. I might be off on that one. Something like that, and I think like the Olympics games, stuff like that was there. But
nice.
Yeah, it was awesome to see that, and then walk around and see all the different big statues and all that sort of jazz. They just sort of let us go crazy, basically. I broke Doom Eternal, the demo of it while I was there. That was fun. Played Battletoads with some guys. That was great. So it was just a really good time overall.
Yeah, we were waxing a little poetic before we went live about how it is absolutely one of the craziest places to be. Like it's I remember having to take I was there as media as well, so that we had like a specific media room we were able to go to that actually like was over top of kind of some of the other areas, and I kind of like took a half-hour break there just to grab some food and to kind of rest, and you're just like, this is crazy. Like it's just it is a mecca of gaming and PR moments and publicity and hands-on, and it's absolutely crazy. And the whole city embraces it, right? Like it's so crazy. It's such a cool event. I'm so happy you were able to go to that. That's a cool experience.
Yeah, the whole Cologne there seemed very aware of everything going on. We had to cross a bridge to get to our hotel and things like that. I didn't get to see it as much as I did Paris, but it just seemed like there was a lot of us, so to speak, going around. There's a lot of big game ads. Like I remember a lot of Doom Eternal ads around the city at the time and things like that. So they knew what was going on. But yeah, it was very nice. They even had I remember the bridge going across there had like little locks like all the way across it. Yeah, you've been there, so I guess you know what I'm talking about. So I got to at least kind of I bought a lock. I did the little touristy thing and put my wife and my name on it and got to stick it on there and things like that. It was just a really awesome experience that I don't think I'll ever get over. The simple fact that it just was like tweeting about a video game, like something I liked, I feel like is what got me there. Is like, how did this so yeah, just I could kind of go on and on about that aspect of it.
Should go have some pommes frites, right? Pommes frites.
Some what?
Pommes frites, which is fries, ketchup, mayo. Pommes frites, right? And there's bratwurst,
I did not.
Right? No, okay.
I did have some very Germany food, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
German. But yeah, the biggest thing that I sort of got a laugh out of while I was there was just beer everywhere. Like, I feel
cheaper than water. Cheaper than water.
I feel like it's like the joke anyway, is like, oh, you're German or whatever, but no, there's beer everywhere. Like I'd walk in the hotel and there's a guy standing there with a bunch of beer and just like, hey, want a beer? Like, he didn't charge me, he didn't card me. I was like, I'm from the US. Like I feel like I'm doing something terribly wrong.
It's so cool. I remember literally ordering, we were sitting down with my family ordering dinner one night and we're looking at the menu and I was like, the girls, like, can we get a bottle or glass of water or whatever it was, and the glass of water they were charging like €2 for, and I was like, the beer is $1.90. I'm like, what? This is cheaper than that. All right, well, have some more beer, I guess, right? So
yeah,
that's great.
Like whatever.
Another round.
Yeah. I do want to ask Josh, you're talking about this kind of idea of community manager, Discord, right? And to your commentary, like this has provided some amazing opportunities, right? And there's a set of skills to be a community manager, right? To interface with fans and then kind of also be a bit of a spokesperson for an organization or a game and to manage expectations. Has it crossed your mind to look into it as a profession with gaming? Has it pursued like the idea of like, hey, I see Ubisoft is looking for a community manager or whatever, or are you happy to just kind of be the side hustle?
No. So I guess I'll start with first, like with Nintendo nostalgia, is sort of where I jumped in on that. They're like, hey, yeah, well, I got to being friends with Jacob and Ryan at the time. And I actually went to Jacob's house and just sat down and we decided, hey, that they could use some help in this avenue. I just thought I'd give it a shot. Now, I'll be completely honest that I'm not even on that show tonight. I'm on here saying this. I feel like I could do a better job on that side of it. But I do enjoy it when it works out and when I do put that effort into it. And one thing I really like doing, and I've done it some with being one of the two admins on the Mario and Rabbids Discord, is like making events. I love like making little events, getting everybody to show up. I remember one in particular, we had an Animal Crossing that really worked out with a bunch of us. We did like a game show thing and all this, just really had a great time during the pandemic. That was one of my favorite memories of that. But yeah, with the with the profession side of it, I guess it's a whole can of worms for me. I am definitely interested in some sort of career in gaming. I know that sounds, I'm 33 and that still sort of sounds like that goofy like kid dream thing. He just likes to play video games. Of course that's what he wants to do. I kind of wish I would have just stuck with that growing up instead of waiting until I was this old to be like, maybe there is some realistic places to reach with this.
Right.
Instead of just like cruising with the, it's, if you talk to me much, you're probably going to know I'm not a fan of my job. So my real job is just a government job. It's IT. And there's no heart there. There's no soul. It's just
Oh yeah.
I kind of feel like I'm
two
made
of
for
the three of us are in an IT job, so we get it.
I do. I feel like I'm made for more than that. It even got me into looking into other avenues like narrative design. I wrote a kid's book. There's a group, if you know Cody Christensen, Nerdwire. He's friends with some people that basically can help get that published. I'm waiting on that whole process right now.
Nice.
So I'm just working on goofy things like that to sort of try to find that something. Here's a piece of it right here. I made a Mario and Rabbids board game. I tweeted about it a while back. It's not
nice.
fully completed, but just to try to play around with the designs and things like that, just to see what I can make. I love making Mario Maker stages. I made a butt ton of those. So, there's a little bit of like I'm just all over the place,
Right.
but I very much have a passion and very much want to work in that arena, whatever form that may take. West Virginia is not friendly to that. There is absolutely nothing here.
But remote work, right? Remote work is becoming such a key element nowadays, right? I've seen posts not too long ago of like, hey, we're looking for community managers and PR people, and you can be remote, right? Our good friends actually over at Pop Agenda are hiring a PR individual in the remote as well. So I guess what I'll say this again, not that our voice means a lot, Josh, but video game folks out in the industry here, like that you're listening to our podcast, you should hit up Josh. Hit him in the DMs, all right? Send him a message, chat with him, because he could be your community manager. He could do this job for you. Community managers are hard, right? So help him out a bit, all right? He's got some passion. He's obviously got a passport, right? He sold that to you already, right? Help this fella out, all right? Let's get him out of the government IT job and let's get him an actual video game job, all right? So if you're a developer, a publisher, a video game entrepreneur, and you can hear the sound of my voice, hit him up.
I've worked IT for years with, taking phone calls. My first job was Burger King. I've gotten yelled at a lot. I can handle it, So,
this is your sales pitch right now, Josh. Nintendo sometimes listens to our podcast. Now is the time that you need to be pitching, all right?
Bowser listens all the time. What are you talking
all
about?
the time.
Sounds
he will not yield.
Scary.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's at Whopper744 Games, by the way, on Twitter.
Yeah.
So,
There it is. There it is. Well, we know you've been playing Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. What other games you've been playing besides that? Or are you just focusing on this, trying to beat this game?
Since that came out, or since I got it a little bit early, I've really been focusing hard on that, like trying to 100% it. And I've been super busy with other stuff on and off. Having one kid alone, I don't know how I'd make it with more than one. I don't know how people do, but basically that's mostly what I've been playing right now. Before that, just sort of out of hype, I was playing Rayman Legends again just for kicks and giggles, and Splatoon 3 on and off a good bit with my wife mostly, or just on my own, or whoever. So yeah, it's mostly always on the Switch.
How old is your daughter again?
She is 8.
She is 8. Does she play games at all?
On and off. I think sometimes, like with Sparks of Hope and things like that, that's a little bit. I don't know if she's quite ready to grasp on all of that. She's very smart, but at the same time, I don't know if she just her attention span. She's just kind of just like, okay, I like watching it. It's very cool, but
and I'm not that far into Sparks yet. But if it's anything like Kingdom Battle, once you get to around that halfway point, it gets. I expect it to get a lot more cerebral.
Yeah, there is some very good like accessibility options in this one, and there's easy and all that sort of thing. But no, she does have her own Switch Lite, and she loves playing like Animal Crossing and things like that on it. Nice. One of my favorite memories so far with her, as she's gotten a little old enough to handle games a little better, is Kirby and the Forgotten Land this year.
Yes,
as we 100% of that game almost like entirely together.
Fantastic.
She's Kirby and I was Waddle Dee and all of that, and we just had a great time with that game.
Fantastic. See, there is a difference there because, like you said, your daughter's 8. I tried playing that game with my 14-year-old son, and he wanted to go back to Doom.
Doom's great. Granted, I never really grew up very well. So.
Right. All right. Yeah. So that's awesome. So that's understandable too, because just like we joke about around here, is there's some of us that concentrate on that one game and maybe a few other games that you might play to take a break from that one game, or there's some of us that have our hands in a bunch of different games, so all at one time. So yeah, it's totally understandable. So, but very cool. All right. Any other questions from anybody else here on the panel?
I think there's one other question that was in our docket, which was, what other Nintendo properties would you like to see crossed into the Rabbids universe?
I will say this completely from just from no knowledge or anything else. I would very much, one, I would like to see more Donkey Kong. That's kind of already been done, but I love that series. And there's the whole country, well, not just country, but like, all the other Kongs and things like that would be really cool. I think it would be pretty easy to mix them in after they've done Mario.
Rabbid Steel Girder.
Yeah, I mean, that would be cool too. No, I think one that would be a little bit different from that, though, that I think would still fit and would still sort of have that big name on it, would honestly would be Zelda. Even though I like the Toon style, I personally kind of prefer the more Ocarina or Twilight Princess kind of style myself. I do think like that Toon Link sort of world would fit really well with it personally. I think that way they can still make it a little silly, but still have a little bit of level of Zelda to it. I think some of those interactions would be really fun. And I think they could take some Zelda-y elements into that, like the dungeons and things like that. And the exploration, I think they could adjust enough to sort of make it feel like a neat blend of the two.
Love it. I would play it for sure. I also would play if they say they go hog wild on the third one, Mario and Rabbids, and it's like those portals. I guess there's a portal. I guess Mario comes through, or that the Rabbids come through, right? So then just bring in all the other IPs in, just not
Rabbids
only
Smash
Zelda,
Brothers.
but just bring in other Nintendo properties in.
All 80 characters of Smash are just Rabbids, Rabbid versions of everyone.
There you go.
Yeah, they have to make a Kirby alt for every character, so now you got a Rabbid alt for every character.
There you go.
Of course, the dream is Rabbids and Banjo and Kazooie for me, but yeah,
that would be cool.
That's quite unrealistic, but
Hey, we cannot say never anymore because we thought, lots of things wouldn't happen, and all of a sudden here they are happening. I mean, we can look at Sega and Nintendo working together. That's one big thing we never thought.
We finally have Persona games on the Switch.
Yep. So it's crazy, the video game world it is. So, all right, Josh, tell us where people can find you.
The best place to find me for the sort of like constant gaming posts and stuff is on Twitter, honestly, at Whopper744Games. Of course, I am also in a number of other places like Instagram, Facebook, and Discord. That one's just at Whopper744. Feel free to add me on there as well. You can join the Mario and Rabbids Discord on there as well. There's always conversations, and we even have guides up and things like that now. We're having a contest soon for an art book. So, look into that if you feel like it.
Fantastic.
And Nintendo nostalgia. Sorry.
Especially because you just recorded that for a return episode, basically.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Can't wait to hear it. All right. But before we go, let's talk about not what we've been playing, but what we plan on playing on the plane. So,
Jesse, you got a bumper for that?
I do.
Come on, Jesse. There it is. So this is your first rodeo.
I wasn't sure if we were going to hit that segment, so I had prepared the volume for end credits. So,
all right.
Well, I have
we can get through this. Josh, although you're not going to New York with us, and I know you want to, we'd love it if you could. What did you play when you flew to Paris and back home again? And even Germany, if you can remember that far back.
Yeah, so I guess I'll do it in order. I tried to sort of give myself a game for the plane. Like I was like, I'm going to buy myself a little indie game or something, not spend an exuberant amount, maybe $15 or something. So I remember on the way there, and this is a little bit still out of that hype that like Ubisoft was sending me somewhere. So I was just looking up stuff they've worked on, or at least connected to, and I got Child of Light on the way to Germany, which was very good. Again, that's sort of outside of my realm usually of like games I go for all the time. Sometimes I'll go for those, but I thought that game was beautiful in a lot of ways. The story to it, I really enjoyed. The ending, like I feel like I've mentioned crying twice now. I sort of teared up. I remember at the end, like the credit song, like I can barely. It's pretty. I've got it on a playlist, but then I almost skip it every time because I'm like, I don't want to be sad right now. So yeah, it was a great great little game. I would recommend going and checking that out if you have time. But on the way to Germany, I was just sort of like tossing up a bunch of ideas, and somehow I landed on. I think it's because it was on sale. I landed on Later Alligator, I think is the name of it. Like it's a
oh yeah.
What do you call it? Almost like a point and click kind of deal.
I've heard of
but
that.
It's and it's like a little mystery. You go through and you figure out why this is happening, and it's silly. But you just go through and you might have to ask different character questions or do little puzzles and things like that. It was really good for like the plane because it wasn't super long or anything like that. So it was pretty easy to get through, but it was fun. I liked it. It was worth the like $7 or something I put into it easily.
Nice. So that was your Paris one?
Yeah, that was well.
Gotcha.
I forgot about this. So not to go off too much on something stupid here. I posted a picture of it a while back too, but I brought my Game Boy Color right to Paris and all that with my camera.
Right.
I brought Rugrats in Paris on Game Boy Color as well. And I got a picture of it with the Eiffel Tower. Like I was like, I brought Rugrats in Paris to Paris.
That's
like,
fantastic. That is fantastic.
So I played a little bit of that. It's not the best game on Game Boy Color.
Right.
It was just funny to bring it along.
That's fantastic. All right, Justin, what are you going to play on the plane to New York? And if you got a game on the way back, what are you playing?
I'm going to be honest. The way to New York, I'm probably going to sleep. My flight's at 6 a.m. and I got to be up by 3:30. So I'm probably going to sleep to Toronto.
Okay.
So my Montreal to New York flight, which I think is like 90 minutes or an hour maybe. I'm going to be honest with you, not just because we're talking about it now, probably Mario and Rabbids. Like I like games that I don't need to feel like too intensely like, like you're clicking and you're, oh my gosh, right? Like none of that, because like people are sitting around you, right? So I like to play something kind of calm and relaxing. So probably Mario and Rabbids. Maybe Tunic. I don't know. Still working my way through some of that, but I think like Mario and Rabbids it's my cartridge. Like I always like to have something in the cartridge.
Yeah.
Because the moment you go into Wi-Fi, because of the way my Switch works, because I have 3 of them, has to validate, and it's like, oh, you can't play because you're not in Wi-Fi, right? Mm-hmm. So I either have to like do one of those games, I have to go in the airport first, like connect to my like personal hotspot, start it to validate the check, and then I have to put it into sleep and go in. So it'll probably be a cartridge game,
and then you can't play anything else.
Yeah, I know, right? And then I'm like, I'm fully committed to this. Right. But probably that.
That's a good one, Jesse. What you got?
All right, so I have a few games lined up, I think. So, Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope. I am not far in that game, so there's plenty of time I can work into that. I bought Persona 5 Royal, haven't started it yet. Another game that I recently have picked up for the 3DS is the Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story. So I think any one of those 3, or a combination of those 3, will be my airplane games on both trips.
Nice. And I actually broke out because this year I finally beat, after Josh, if you don't know, I finally beat Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild after 5 years of playing it.
Wow. Play the long game.
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. And having a little bit of break from that, I'm bringing Age of Calamity with me, and that's my cartridge game. And I'm going to be playing that on the plane and seeing if I can play that. And now I'll understand it a little bit better since I beat the Breath of the Wild game. So that's one I'll have on there. And then I also have, actually, no, that one is not my cartridge game. I need to figure out what my cartridge game is going to be, but I am going to bring my case, which will have games in it. So I'll have plenty of options there. I won't go through all of them, but who knows what I'll end up playing.
Everything I have is digital, but I only have one Switch and it's my primary, so it doesn't matter.
All right.
Yeah. Is it a long flight for you all?
For Justin, probably the longest flight for him.
That's right. Yeah.
My morning will start at 3:30 a.m. Yeah.
Been there.
So that's Mountain Standard. So that's gonna be 5:30 Eastern.
Yeah, he has 2 time zones to cross.
Yeah. It'll be give or take when it's all said and done. My travel day will be pretty close to 12 hours.
Mine to Germany and to Paris was about the same. It was like down to Atlanta from West Virginia, and then it was up and over this way, like 11 hour, whatever it was. So and then it's 5 hours difference.
I lived in Ireland when I went to Germany, so I think it was actually in the same time zone as well, and it was like an hour or 2 hour flight from Dublin, so it was like super easy. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I think mine's a 3 hour flight from
that's not bad.
From wheels up to wheels down.
That's not bad.
And on the way back, I'll probably be sleeping after all the fun we're going to be having over those days. Right. I'll probably be knocked out if I'm lucky. Or who knows, maybe I'll just be all hopped up. But who knows? I don't know. But I'm getting on the plane early on that Monday morning. So
yeah, I have an early flight. I think I'm wheels up at 6:30.
Yeah.
Nice. So
Can I ask Josh a question before we leave? And
go ahead.
Put a spoiler tag on this.
Spoiler tag.
I'm 3 hours into this game.
Yeah.
All right. You know the challenge where you find the architect or the archaeologist, and there's the 4 statues, right?
Yeah.
4 statues. What is the order of the 4 statues? How do they have to?
Oh, that was easy.
I brute forced that.
My brain is not working. I went to it like 3 times. I'm like, I'm not dealing with you right now.
I'm trying to picture it in my head.
There is the king, the kid, the star, and then the
brother.
You put the it's hard to tell you without showing you, but like there's the 4 where the big dude is, the king dude is. I
Yep.
know I'm saying his name wrong.
Mhm.
He's got the pin, so you face him towards the bigger sun. You face him looking directly at him, and the sun is looking back at him, like face to face. Then over here, Augie with his little knapsack thing is walking towards the sun, and the sun is facing him.
Okay.
As from what I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
I don't know what
I gotta go. I gotta go now. I gotta go do some stuff that's not related to what he just said at all. Talk to you
I
later.
set
bye.
it up the
Basically-
way that it made sense to me, and then finally I decided I'm just going to start brute forcing this thing. So I rotated the sun that was the only thing I needed to touch, and it clicked.
Both sides are looking face to face at each other.
Got
At each other,
Okay.
basically.
All right. Love it. Thank you. Also, can I ask you one other question? What do you think of the voice work?
So yeah, that was. I'm trying to figure out when I knew about that. I can't remember if they revealed that before Paris or not. It was very, I guess, jarring at first, but I think it has been for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like a lot of people sort of like not real big on it, but I think once you get used to it, it's really not that bad. And actually, I'm so used to it now, it doesn't really seem weird. Like I kind of like a lot of it. I particularly really like Rabbid Mario's voice. Whoever did that and some of the goofy stuff he says, I think it really adds to the character on him. Really none of them.
You're not talking about the Mario movie. You're talking about something. You're talking about the game. No.
No. This is Rabbid Mario.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Just the way you were wording that sounded very familiar. No.
No, they give a reason for it too in the memories. I remember finding that in Paris. Like if you look through the little memory section, it does tell you about like a translator thing. So it's not just like they just suddenly evolved over the last game or whatever necessarily. So they at least do give you a reason behind it. I guess the only funny part about it is where they're speaking full sentences and you still have Mario and crew there not.
Right.
They're just doing their normal thing. So, and they're the humans, sort of, but whatever.
That is funny. That's a good point. All right. Well, Josh, thanks for coming to the show and giving us all of that knowledge of Mario and Rabbids in your head. That was pretty awesome. And your experiences and sharing it with our audience. And again, hopefully everybody goes and checks out Nintendo Nostalgia, where I'm sure you'll talk about Mario and Rabbids and every now and then, I'm sure, or go check you out over at your Discord to get more information for sure. So thanks again for stopping by.
No problem. It's great being here. Thank you all for inviting me.
Absolutely. With that, we're going to close out the show as we usually do and say thanks to our over 6,400 subscribers at YouTube and at Twitch. Thanks for our 1,382 followers and our 16 Twitch subscribers. Don't forget, if you're a Twitch subscriber, you can get into our Discord community. So reach out to me if you haven't been, if you don't know how, or you are trying to get in. My name is NeoPrime33. You can look for me there, and NeoPrime33 #0033 in Discord if you want to connect with me there. And we can get you into the Nintendo Dads Discord community. Check out our merch store via nintendodads.org/merch, where you can get our newest merchandise with the episode 400 t-shirt, which we'll be celebrating next week. Isn't that crazy, guys?
Woohoo.
Huge thanks to our Patreon producers, Dave Ernsberger, Solo Something, and RJ Kern. Thank you, as always. And thanks to all of our Patreon producers, or all of our Patreons. Check out our website again, nintendodads.org, for all of our YouTube videos, tweets, podcast episodes, links to all our social medias, our Patreon page, our link to our Extra Life if you want to join us or donate to us, and the Nintendo Dads shop for Nintendo Dads merch. Also, you can just look up Nintendo Dads at most, I should say, of the social medias: Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, all those places. Not yet TikTok, so don't ask. Email us at nintendodads@gmail.com or leave a voicemail at 929-25-NDADS or 929-256-3237. Again, that's to leave a voicemail. Big thanks to OC Remix for the music throughout the show. Download our podcast at any of your favorite podcast apps. And if they have a way to review, please give us a review, especially like if you're an Apple, give us a 5-star review. Anything less, we always say pass those over to the Mega Dads. They always accept all that stuff. So for me, for Justin, for Jesse, for a hopefully not so mad anymore Marty, and Joshua, thanks again for stopping by. This is the Nintendo Dads closing out episode 399. Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Nintendo Dads.
What?